the laws, regulations, and best practices when it comes to car seat usage, it gets confusing. Now, Peggy, I have a 3-year-old niece. Is it sufficient enough for them to use a car seat, or is a seatbelt enough?
Okay, now the law says that children up to the age of 3 must be in a car seat. But the law also says that after the age of 3, those children must be in a car seat if one is available. And if no car seat is available, a child must sit on a seat with a seat belt. But now you've seen the 3-year-old, you know what size they are. And car seats are designed for adults. You know, there's a big difference. So the seatbelt doesn't fit a 3-year-old, and therefore we need kids in car seats. So the law falls short. So where the law stops at 3-year-old, best practice takes over. That you have to have your child in a car seat until they're 1.5 meters tall.
What's the difference between ECE R44 /4 or I size? Does it matter what I choose?
No, it doesn't really matter what you choose. It is the regulations that regulate the design and the manufacture of car seats. So Regulation 4404 is a regulation that was in place up to a point, and then they realized that the regulations fall short of keeping our children safe. So what they brought in with Regulation 129 is mandated side impact testing. So that car seat that you buy that is I-size or Regulation 129, you know that it has been tested, that the side impact protection of that seat is up to regulation. It will have ISOFIX, and it now takes your child's weight, height, and age into consideration when you go from one car seat group to the next, as your child goes through the different stages as they grow up. So Regulation 4404 is safe. It is just that there's additional safety measures that makes it more safe. 4404 is still good for us in South Africa because the installation of ISOFIX in vehicles is not yet mandated, meaning it's not compulsory that all vehicles sold in South Africa must have ISOFIX. So we must still have Regulation 4404 because that allows a seatbelt installation. So I know this is confusing, but seatbelts, Regulation 4404, ISOFIX, and age, height, and weight, and side impact protection, and ease of installation that comes with Regulation 129. We always strive towards safer. It doesn't mean that the lower regulation is not safe anymore.
So, what does appropriate and correctly certified mean?
So the law states that the car seat that you use must be appropriate and correctly certified. So appropriate means that that seat must be correct for your child's age, weight, and height. You don't get infant seats, toddler seats, and then booster seats, meaning that you can't put a 6-month-old child in a booster seat. So that is appropriate. Correctly certified means that it is a seat with that orange sticker that we discussed in the video. And parents must go and have a look at that video about ECE stickers. It does have that orange sticker on it. That is your reassurance that that seat has been tested and found safe to be used as a car seat.
So, those will be found on all car seats that
Not
are.
all
Okay.
car seats. There are some dodgy seats on the market, but that orange sticker, look for that on your car seat. It must be there. If you find it there, then you know that seat is correctly certified.
Now, tell me, is it illegal to put your child in the front seat even if they're in a car seat?
No, the law, the National Road Traffic Act, doesn't stipulate where you must seat your child. But here again, best practice. So if you put your child in a car seat on the front seat and there's an active airbag, you need to deactivate your airbag, especially if your car seat is rear facing. You can imagine now your child is in a rear-facing seat and there's an airbag at the dash exactly where your seat is. That explodes about 350 kilometers per hour into your car seat. So there's the crash that causes stress, there is the airbag that explodes. That's a secondary crash, and it might just slam your child into the backrest of the seat. So for rear-facing car seats, you have to deactivate the airbag. And rear-facing car seats come with an airbag warning stitched onto the seat, so it will be there. Forward-facing car seats is a different matter. But here you still need to make sure that there is space for the airbag to deploy. Practical explanation. For instance, you have a baby seat on the passenger side of the back seat. So your passenger seat is pushed forward to accommodate the rear-facing seat. So now your child might be too close to the airbag, because an airbag protects you when you're on a correctly seated position and you wear a seat belt, because it's supposed to fill that space before you during a crash so they don't slam into the dash or into the steering wheel. So airbags, frontal airbags with children, be careful. Rear facing, absolutely no. Forward facing, make sure there's enough space. But the curtain airbags that you get on the side of the vehicle, that does not interfere with car seat usage.
Just for somebody that doesn't understand rear facing and front facing, what is the difference between rear facing and forward facing
Okay,
in a car?
so forward facing is the child faces the direction of travel. So you sit
Like
in the
anybody
driver's,
else in a car.
like everybody else in the car, like the driver, facing forward. But children under the age of 15 months must be rear facing, meaning that they look out the back window. That is because frontal crashes are very devastating, more so than any other crashes. And we can go into an entire scientific description of this, but trust me on this one, frontal collisions are the most severe. And your child is in a car seat and their body is held back by a harness in the car seat, but not their head. So their head will throw forward. Now remember, in the video about the vulnerability of our children, we spoke about the vulnerability of the skull, the neck, and the spine. They are more susceptible to severe injury for the head and the neck in a forward-facing position. So rear face up to 15 months as a hard minimum. Rear facing after 15 months is beneficial, but it is now by choice.
I have heard that the middle passenger seat is the safest space in a vehicle, but my car doesn't have a middle seat belt in the back. Where should I put the seat?
Okay, now we say that the middle seat is the safest because of things that intrude into the vehicle space during a crash. And the middle seat is the furthest away from everything. Makes sense, okay? But you need a 3-point seat belt or ISOFIX to install a car seat. And if that is absent on the middle seat, then you put it behind the passenger on the back seat, because that is the side that's on the pavement. Okay, that's also the side on the driver's side. That is where traffic moves. Passenger side is the side of the road. So, for instance, when you then park next to a sidewalk, you don't have to face into traffic when you take your child out. You're on the safe side. Also, if you are sitting in the driver's seat and your child is on the passenger seat, in an emergency situation, you can reach over, unbuckle your child, just grab them by their clothes to your chest and get out of the car quickly if you need to be. If your child is behind you, it means that you need to get out of the car first and then take your child out. Okay, so passenger side first. And what I advise parents is that the youngest child sit on the passenger side, older children next to them up to behind the driver, and on the front seat, the eldest child on the front seat.
I hear you talking about ISOFIX. What is ISOFIX, and do we find it in all vehicles?
No, ISOFIX is a method of installation. Like a seatbelt installation is a way of installing the car seat into your vehicle, so is ISOFIX.
Okay.
ISOFIX was developed to find a unified way of installing all car seats in vehicles the same way. So in Europe and in North America, it is law that all vehicles sold must have ISOFIX. We don't have that yet. So in South Africa, all vehicles sold are either seatbelt or all have seat belts because that is regulation, but not all of them have ISOFIX in them. So when you buy a car seat, make sure that you have ISOFIX brackets in your car, and it's very easy to find them. Between the backrest and the seat on the back seat, that gap there, you will find it in between there. Now, some cars, it is clearly visible, but it will always be marked with either a tag like a label on your clothes that says ISOFIX, or a round little button with something that looks like a child in a car seat.
On the car seat itself.
On the vehicle seat,
Okay.
yeah, there will be those buttons or that little label that says ISOFIX.
Alrighty. So let's say I've got 3 nieces or my nephews with me in the vehicle, and I've only got 2 car seats. What is the safest way to travel?
Okay, so now, as we said before, the youngest child in the car seat on the passenger side of the back seat, the middle child behind the driver, and the older child in front with you in the seatbelt or in a booster seat, depending on their age.
Alrighty. So if I'm traveling, am I legally obliged or responsible for all the children's safety in the vehicle, and that to ensure that they are buckled up properly?
Yes, yes. That very same traffic act that says all children must, under the age of 3, must be in a car seat. It says that the driver is responsible for the safety of all the occupants in the vehicle. And it doesn't matter what you drive. If you have people in the vehicle with you as the driver, you are responsible for their safety. So you need to make sure that everybody in the vehicle is buckled up and that all children are in their car seats.
So we live in a country where we use Ubers or meter taxis or Taxify or Bolt, whatever the case is. Are they responsible or should they be liable in providing car seats for mothers or parents that are traveling with kids?
No, no. The National Road Traffic Act exempts all transport that you pay for from using car seats. You know that our children come in all different shapes and sizes, and so does car seats. So for one Uber driver to have 6 or 7 different options of car seats in his boot is not going to work. Okay, that is... So, so what I advise parents, if you have a child that still fits in that infant carrier, use that. But if you have a child older than that, let them sit next to you. You can take your own car seat if you want to, but we all know how bulky car seats are. They're difficult and hard to carry and to install and to take out again and then carry with you. It becomes cumbersome. So I'm not going to burden parents with that. If you have an infant, use the infant seat. If not, let your child sit on the seat next to you and do buckle them up. It is better than nothing. But word of caution, never put the child on your lap. Ever, ever. Ever, 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 ever. Because you put your child in severe danger. If there's a crash and the child is on your lap, and you're not wearing a seatbelt, for instance, your child is going to crash into the back of the passenger seat in front, and you are going to crash into your child, giving your child a double crash. Okay, and their little bodies are not designed to deal with that kind of stresses. If you are buckled in, for instance, and your child is on your lap, you think you're going to hold on to your child in case of a crash. Not going to happen, because the crash force is just too high. No, weight changes when vehicles are in motion. So if you are, and we're going to use just easy numbers for math purposes. So for instance, you weigh 60 kilograms and you drive at 100 kilometers per hour. You take on the weight of 6,000 kilograms. So your 6-kilogram baby that you're holding on your lap at 100 k's an hour becomes 600 kilograms. Not even Schwarzenegger will be able to hold on to a baby. Okay? And that is it. It is those dynamics that plays out during a crash that makes it impossible for you to hold on to your child. So rather put your child next to you in a seatbelt. That seatbelt is better than nothing.
Now, last question, Pigs. When you're traveling on the roads, we see a lot of children sitting on the front seat without any seat belts. Don't you think there should be any laws or regulations or punishments to the parents that are actually allowing their kids to sit in the front seat that are clearly
But there
underage?
is, the law says it just needs to be enforced. That is the problem, you know. But my point of view is, as a parent, the safety of your child is your priority. That is your duty as a parent, is to raise your child to adulthood safely. And driving in a vehicle is no different than any other safety practices that you have to put in place. So your child on the front seat or between the two seats,
With no seatbelt.
no seatbelt. I have seen children looking through the sunroof at me and waving at me. It is great fun. No, it is extremely dangerous. If you have to suddenly slam on brakes because there's a pedestrian running across the highway or whatever reason, there is nothing securing your child in place, and your child is at risk of flying right through that windscreen into the road in front where there's other vehicles traveling as well. So it is extremely dangerous. And we lose children every single day because parents think, oh, it won't happen to me. Oh, I'm just going down the road. It's just around the corner. Oh, I'm in a hurry. That does not make you bulletproof, you know. If you are traveling with your children in a vehicle, best that they be secured in a car seat.
Thank you so much, Auntie Peggy, for this informative session. I have learned a lot from this conversation. And if any of you guys have any more questions about Wheel Wow, car seats, and car installations, please contact Peggy at Wheel Wow.